Good evening. uh, I wanted to do a video on armor, and I don't think we need to have video for this one. You'll see why as this goes on, but basically, should you have armor for shit hits the fan? Why or why not, and what kind of armor should you buy? Um, okay, so this is not advice for cops. This is not advice for the military. This is not advice for anyone but the armed civilian who is worried about the world ending and shit hits the fan. You have different considerations than all of these people. And where to start? First and foremost, you're not supported. You don't have a source of new plates. Okay. Ceramic plates are great at stopping rounds and whatever, but they also are easy to break. I've broken ceramic plates. I've worn armor before. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Um, Once the ceramic plate is broken, it has weak spots. You could die. And this is my thoughts on it basically is that for shit hits the fan, where you might be carrying this shit a lot, using it little, ceramic plates at least are not worth the squeeze. Anything more than that is probably too much money for you. Because if you had that much money, I would recommend you spend it on other shit. So we're looking for something cheap and effective that won't be broken as you carry it through the apocalypse. One second, I got a cough. Okay, so to me, this describes steel plates. Now, steel plates come with drawbacks, and the first thing people are going to say is spall and shit. And first off, if you're going to run steel plates, you need to get some shit to mitigate that. First off, I would buy the ones with the truck bed liner on them because that does stop some shit. And then I would get Kevlar fabric and wrap the whole plate in it, probably 2 or 3 times, and then put it into your carrier. You can buy Kevlar fabric. You can Google that shit. Or if you get an old surplus cop vest, just take the shit out of it and use it. That's what I've done before. And as far as a carrier goes, get something low profile and comfortable. I would wear a pretty much slip carrier with a chest rig over it because, again, you're a civilian. And in the military already, I could foresee situations where you would have to ditch your armor and keep your mags. But you, as a civilian, definitely want that flexibility. What if you have to fucking hike out or some shit and now you're carrying 20 pounds of steel armor and you can't ditch it because all of your shit is attached to it? That's stupid. Don't do that. Um, Also, slick carriers are pretty cheap and chest rigs are pretty cheap, and wearing them both at the same time works. Um, see, the cool thing about AR500armor.com is they have pretty decent carriers and pretty decent steel plates with lining on them, and they're in affordable packages. These days, their prices are kind of crazy, but I've been looking at their website, and the armor that I am going to buy for me is their smallest little rig. I forget what it's called. It's like the AR Freeman or something like that. And the reason is that's the lightest one, and it does what I need armor to do for me. It is a heart protector. Fighting unsupported, how do I put this? Eventually, you're going to die. So, wearing armor for you fighting in an unsupported role as an armed civilian in some sort of World War III, if you get shot, you are going to die. Pretty much, unless you get very, very lucky. Um, the light armor plate is to keep you alive long enough to kill the guy that killed you. That's all it's for. And to pretend that the armor is for anything more than that is really being unrealistic. Uh, Now, if you are wearing very large armor plates, or maybe like one of those Michelin man suits, yes, that'll stop more shit. But at the same time, now you're slow and immobile. And the one advantage that you have as a armed civilian on your own and whatever is that you are small, mobile, and hard to find. So why would you take away some of that shit? Those big Michelin man suits and big armor plates, those are made for the fucking Nazis patrolling the streets. That's not for you. Like, look at our troops in Iraq. They turned into Michelin Man real quick because the people over there were sick of them and they were taking pot shots at them. That's what armor does and is for. It's not for you. And like, this is the whole misunderstanding, I think, of armor in our community. If you wanted to say, hey, I'm going to spend the extra money and get the full size AR 500 plates, I'd say that's a smart choice. I'd say I'm kind of knowing my limitations. And again, I've worn armor before. It sucks to do anything in armor. I want my armor to be as light as possible because I think I'm probably not going to need it anyway. And if I do need it, honestly, the difference in the plate size on me doesn't matter. Both of those plates only essentially protect my heart and sternum and center lungs and shit. So small plate, big plate, doesn't matter. I'm a big person, is what I'm getting at. They don't make plates that are really made for me. They never have. The XL plate does better, but then those are even heavier. Those are like 14 by 11. Those are the plates that I should wear. So that's half of my reasoning for going with the tiny plates. It's cheaper. It's lighter. I don't think I'm going to need it anyway. I think if I do need it, the stuff I'm going to need is that cheap light rig. So that's what I'm going to buy. If you are facing different threats, if you're in an urban setting in like New York or Los Angeles, I might buy a lot of armor because of the amount of handgun rounds that you could be encountering. I might load up on even just soft armor because like that's shit that you can stop. There will be a lot of people with handguns. My reality is I live in Oklahoma. The main two threats that I'm going to face here are the AR-15 and 308 chambered guns. And there's a shitload of 308 semi-automatic chambered guns in Oklahoma. And between the two of those, most of the armor you're going to wear is fucking useless to some extent. Okay, like rifle plate. You could wear rifle plate, but again, that covers a very small portion of your body. And it relies on your enemy being pretty accurate. To quote Clint Smith, armor requires your opponent to be a competent shot. Something like that. That's paraphrasing, but I think that's pretty much true. My advice to you is instead of wearing armor, learn how to stand in places that don't get you dead. Like, this is the thing I've never heard a single YouTube channel on here talk about that talks about guns. Oh, well, I'll talk about body armor and, fucking running through doors like John Wayne and shit like that. But oh no, talk about standing in places that don't get you killed. Nah, don't talk about that at all. And what I mean by this is like, if you're going to move through a cityscape in some sort of post-apocalyptic collapse, you don't stand in the middle of the fucking street. That's how you die. This is some common sense shit. But I'm guarantee you've never heard anyone else who talks about guns on the internet fucking mention this shit. Maybe a handful. I don't know. But this is why you need to be light and fast. And wearing 20 pounds of armor is about the stupidest thing I could imagine that you could do. You aren't safe in the street in armor or out of armor. And that's the thing you need to get in your head. In a situation like that, you're probably going to be going from a building to a building quickly so no one sees you, and then trying to move through the buildings as much as possible. And this is where like a fire axe comes in handy. Everyone has this like, idea in their head of what shit hit the fan is going to be like, and they have no fucking idea what it's really like because they've never been there. And not that I've necessarily been there either, but I've been to a lot of fucking fucked up places. And one of the things that I like to study the most is shit like Vietnam and Stalingrad. And my idea of what shit hits the fan in America is going to be like is very much Stalingrad 1942. You can't move in the streets because whoever is fucking invading or whatever is going to be in the streets. Maybe that's not necessarily so. Maybe we're just occupied by our own military. That's looking more and more likely. There's some sort of totalitarian shit happening, and they're talking about banning armor. And this is why I'm making this video, because like I think you should go out and buy armor. I would be careful about how you did it. I would try to pay cash and get it in person. Uh, I think AR500 Armor's website is to some extent a honey hole. They're looking for terrorists with it. I would not order from their website. I have my reasons for thinking this, and I really don't want to get into them here, but they're real. So watch where you buy this shit. Watch how you buy this shit. Try to stay off as many lists as you can. Things are going to start getting spooky here pretty soon. And if you did order armor on AR500armor.com, probably fine. You're probably on the same list that I am, or the same list that you are if you filled out a 4473. Some of us are just there, and like prepare accordingly. I'm not going to go into details on that, but I don't know why they are gunning for us so hard, but it's got me spooked, and it's got a lot of other people spooked too. And the fact that they keep trying to crack down on us in particular is scary. And I will never trust them. I will never rely on them for my safety. And if they keep pushing this shit, I'm going to leave the fucking country. I'd rather live in Mexico than live here. Land's fucking cheaper in Mexico too. I'm sure my buddy that I'm talking about doing land with is watching this, and like, honestly, maybe we should go to Mexico. I keep watching the news, and this country just gets worse every fucking day. And inflation gets worse every day. There's no turning this around. I got to the point where I couldn't even talk to my other friends online anymore because of all of this shit, basically, and things that they said to me that made me think that I just couldn't talk to them about any of this anymore. That's why I'm just sitting here talking by myself now. And I'm going to keep doing this probably. I'm going to do some interviews, and I'd like to do a podcast, but seems no one really wants to do one. So I don't know. Let me know if you'd like to do a fucking show about something. I'd like to do a knife show. I'd really like to do some sort of like guns and whatever the fuck we want to talk about show too. A gun and knife show I think would be cool. That's kind of like the traditional thing, right? Let me know what you guys think. And if you have an opinion on armor that differs from mine, I really don't care. Share it, don't share it. But it's not what I think, and it never will be. Ha ha.